Thank you all for coming to the 60th anniversary open house for Huntington Harbour Yacht Club. And imagine if we were lucky enough to host for this presentation a retired U.S. Navy commander. Imagine if we were lucky enough to listen to a U.S. Navy pilot. Imagine if we were lucky enough to learn from a board member on the Huntington Harbor Commission. So please join me in welcoming Commander Schauppner, who's going to do a State of the Harbor presentation for all of us today.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you for that very kind introduction. And thank you all for your attention and inviting me to talk to you today about something that I really care deeply about, the water quality, the ecology of the Huntington Harbor in particular, but not just the harbor, but Bolsa Chica wetlands, our neighbor to the south, and to the north, Seal Beach National Wildlife Refuge. So like Peter said, I'm a member of the Huntington Beach Harbor Commission, a plank owner of the Harbor Commission, started with Mike Van Voorhees, Commissioner Emeritus. And I'd also like to introduce a couple other folks from the Harbor Commissioner here today. We have our Vice Chair, Chris Nielsen, also a member of the Yacht Club, as our G. Wood, also a commissioner, and our newest commissioner took Mike's place, Mel Wood, sitting here at the table, hopefully supporting me and laughing at my jokes when no one else will. The other thing that I'm a member of, Peter didn't mention, and it's a brainchild of the Yacht Club's own Commodore Steve Parson and Dee Wood, is the Coalition for Clean Waters. It's a really great group of folks who all share the same interest of making sure our waters are clean, healthy. And then Peter asked me to tell a sea story. And if we have some time at the end, I can share a sea story or two. I like to joke a sea story. How many of you all fishing men, right? A sea story is like a fishing story. The longer you tell it, the bigger it gets, and the less reality to truth it becomes. So the Harbor Commission started back in 2019, and it started when, does anyone remember when the fuel dock at Simple Green was going to go away? It was going to go away, and there wasn't going to be a fuel dock in Huntington Harbor at all. And so a couple people, Dee Wood, I think Mike Van Voorhees, Bill Larkin, who is in Hawaii right now, also a commissioner, they raised the alarm to the city council and said, we can't let this happen. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any fuel in the harbor for boaters to use within the harbor. So out of that, after saving the fuel dock, the city council decided we need to have a harbor commission, a group of people who live in the harbor, and can advise us on what's going on, be our eyes and ears on what's going on, and advise us on policies associated with the harbor. So that's what we do. There's 7 of us. You met 4 of us already. Kimberly Milligan is our chair. She's running a half marathon in San Diego right now, but she would be here supporting as well. And that's what we do. We meet every Thursday, actually not every Thursday, the 4th Thursday of every month. We meet in room B8 in City Hall, and we discuss harbor-related issues, and we come up with policies and recommendations for the city to consider. And we're run underneath the organization of the Brown Act. So we follow all of the Brown Act requirements, which means our meetings are agendized, they're publicized, and citizens can come and make comments and engage with the Harbor Commission in that regard. So you're all invited. 4th Thursday of every month at 5 p.m., room B8 in City Hall. Please come and let us know what's on your mind, and then we can attack any issues that you think we need to attack. Here's how our organization is laid out. It's kind of a real simple org chart, if you will. At the top, of course, is the city council. We have 2 council liaisons that help us out. The mayor, Pat Burns, and Councilwoman Gracie Vandermark attend our meetings almost regularly. Very rarely do they ever miss a meeting, and if one of them misses, the other one usually shows up. And they give us strategic guidance and help us make sure that we're doing the right things for the city. We fall under the fire department as our department that we work with or for. So Chief McCoy and Kevin Justin are our 2 staff liaisons, and they make sure that we're doing things by the book, in line with the municipal codes. And what's really good about being under the fire department is, have you seen the lifeguards out on their boats in the on the beaches. That all came about because the fire department took over stewardship of the harbor commission, and we said, "Hey, we need to get the lifeguards back on the beaches." And at the time, it was Chief Haberly. He made it happen, all within his purview as the fire chief. So it's a lot of good things can happen because we fall under the fire department. And then within the harbor commission itself, we have these things we call ad hoc committees. So we have a committee that looks specifically at vessel and watercraft safety. We have a committee that looks specifically at water quality and what we can do to improve it. And then we have another committee, my favorite, that deals with policy and how we can inform the municipal codes and make changes that regard. So let's talk about the harbor report, the health of the harbor. So to be fair, we don't really have an official scorecard for the harbor, except for infrastructure. There was a third-party organization. We hired some engineers to come out and look at the infrastructure for all the city. And actually, Commissioner Van Voorhees was on that, a representative from the Harbor Commission. And our worst grade in the harbor is our infrastructure. And we all know that. Just go look out at the dock outside. That's due to be replaced. Our bridge over on Admiralty Island is being replaced right now. The bulkheads or the seawalls, those are all in disrepair. And that's to be expected given the age of the harbor, right? It was built in the 60s and the 70s. And really, since then, nothing has really been done to replace them or maintain them. So the city has a focused strategy to go about replacing and fixing some of the most critical pieces of infrastructure that give us a D. But the good news about the harbor report is safety. Ever since the Marine Safety Division has redeployed their lifeguards to our beaches and deployed the lifeguard boats throughout the summer months, we've seen a real marked decrease in incidents. And then, of course, we have the ever-present Orange County sheriffs as well. They're good for they have firefighting capabilities on their boats. They have oil spill capability. So it's really good to have that partnership between marine safety and the OC sheriffs. But what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the brief, if that's okay, is our water quality. And believe it or not, even though we still have a long way to go, I would grade the water quality in Huntington Harbor as an A. And I'm going to show you some data here to support that argument a little bit. But what you're seeing here on the slide is the annual Heal Our Bay Beach Report, right? And so what this is in 2023 and 24, out of 500 beaches that Heal Our Bay measures across California, only 12 beaches made it to their honor roll. And to make it to the honor roll, they have to be graded as an A+ in 3 conditions: in the summertime, in the wintertime, and in wet weather. So what that means is every week they get tested for bacteria levels, and throughout the year, none of these beaches, in this case Seagate Lagoon and Trinidad Lane Beach, they never broke the standard for bacteria levels. We'll get into that a little bit later. This year we had another one. It's the Admiralty Lane Beach made the honor roll. Several other beaches made it as well this year as well. So this is what I'm talking about, this health report test. So every week in 13 different locations across the harbor, the OC Health Agency, they go out and they test our water for what they call the 3 indicator bacterias. And we say indicator bacteria, there's a lot of bacteria and other organisms that could be in the water, but these 3 in particular can give us a sense of whether or not the water is healthy or not, whether it's safe to swim in or if you should avoid it, or in the worst case, they can shut down a water area for like a sewage spill or something like that. You see that on occasion, that'll happen. Not in the harbor, fortunately, but some beaches, especially where there's some river outflows. So 13 different locations. They measure for total coliforms, fecal coliforms, and enterococcus. I don't know what any of that is, but I know if you exceed a certain level, it's bad. And this is a screenshot from a couple of days ago from the OC Healthcare Agency, and all of our beaches, all of the places that they measure in the harbor are green. If you want to see it for yourself, it's updated, I think weekly or daily. You can go to ocbeachinfo.com/Huntington, and that'll show you this slide that I'm showing you here. So let's talk about data. Okay, data is something I'm very enjoy quite a bit in my other job as a Navy operations research analyst. But what I did here is I took a look historically at one of the beaches that made the honor roll. This is Trinidad Lane Beach. And we looked at three different, like I said, three different bacteria levels. If they exceed 104 for this one, which is Enterococcus, and again, I don't know what that is, but apparently it's bad if it's over 104, then there's a warning, and you shouldn't be swimming in that water. So in the last 15 years, since January of 2015, I'm sorry, 10 years, since January 2015, over 599 tests, only 11 times did it ever exceed that 104 level. If you look at fecal coliform, I know what that is. That's also bad. If it exceeds 400, that's where the warnings come in. And only 6 times in the last 10 years has it ever exceeded that. And then for total coliforms, only 1 time has it exceeded the 10,000 limit. So that's it for data. I don't want to bore you too much with the data, but let's talk about clean water. But before we do, any questions about the data or what it takes to be on the honor roll? Okay. So we came up with this, the Harbor Commission came up with this concept called the clean water triangle, right? And since we work for the fire department, ostensibly, we stole the old-fashioned fire triangle. Remember the fire triangle? You need heat, oxygen, and matter for fire to start. Well, we thought, for clean water, what do you need? For clean water, you need to have resources, you need to have strategies, and you need to have partnership. So for the resources standpoint, obviously, the main ones are money, manpower, and machines. The city has put a lot of effort into trying to innovate some of our cleaning capabilities within the harbor. Maybe you've seen them around. If not, they go out about on a weekly basis. We have these things called the Clean Earth rovers. They're like Roombas for the water. So they'll go out autonomously. They have a guy who operates them remotely, and they can go into nooks and crannies and pick up all the debris that's floating around that ordinarily you wouldn't be able to clean up. And then the other thing we have is this thing called the data pods. And if during the break you go out and take a look over at the marine safety dock, there's this yellow cube thing floating in the water. And if you ever wonder what that is, that gives us real-time data about different levels of pH, temperature, dissolved oxygen, tells us real-time what the health of the water is. So that's kind of the resources that we have in this water triangle. And then our strategy really revolves around what in the Navy we call a defense in depth, right? So if you take a look at the watershed, which is the Anaheim Bay watershed, it's quite possible that the candy wrapper or the plastic bottle you see floating in the harbor today, it could have come from Disneyland, because that's our watershed. So anything that someone throws on the street and goes into the storm drain, that's all going to come down via in this case, the Bolsa Chica channel that runs along Edinger, and eventually make it into our harbor. So you can see why it's very critical that it's not just a Huntington Beach or a Huntington Harbor problem. This is a problem that exists across the entire watershed. So it's a county problem, it's an upland city problem, and all of those resources, the county, the upland cities, they're all greatly involved in trying to arrest and mitigate all of the debris that flows into the harbor and ultimately to the ocean by cleaning them out before the big water rain events. And then finally, we talk about partnership. I alluded to the Coalition for Clean Waters. That's a group of folks who share a like agenda for ecological improvements, for clean water. So we have like the Surfrider Foundation. Just this morning, I saw them go out today. Every first Sunday of the month, they go out with their kayaks that the Huntington Harbor Boat Rentals provides for free. They go out with a group of about 10 or 15 folks, and they go up and clean up the harbor up by the Bolsa Chica channel and whatnot. And then they come back with pounds and pounds of debris that they just cleaned up by hand. So partnership like that, like with the Bolsa Chica Conservancy and other nonprofit organizations and county resources, is all key to the clean water triangle. So I mentioned no more data, so I lied. There's one more data slide. This is just an example of that Clean Earth rover data pod that I talked about, the one that's right there over by the marine safety dock. So I took this screenshot yesterday. This was a live report of the pH level, the conductivity, the ORP, that stands for, don't tell me, oxidation reduction potential. Don't know what that is, but we're not good enough there. If you see, we're in the red zone there. And then temperature, we're at 73 degrees yesterday. So what's good about this is not only do we have live data, but we have historical data. So we can look at trends to see if we're trending in the wrong direction for dissolved oxygen, then maybe we can do something about that in terms of improving the water quality for wildlife and whatnot. Okay, that was the last data. Let me talk a little bit more about the Coalition for Clean Waters. So again, the brainchild of Dee Woods and Steve Parsons, the Commodore here at the Yacht Club. Why don't we get all these people who are doing essentially the same thing, but just a little bit differently, get them together on a quarterly basis, and let's meet and compare ideas, talk about what each one's doing, try to deconflict when someone has an event planned for the same time as somebody else, and see if we can share our resources and really make a difference of improving the water quality here in Huntington Harbor and in Bolsa Chica Conservancy and in the Seal Beach Wildlife Refuge. So to that end, we have quite a few organizations who've joined our group. We've got the Bolsa Chica Conservancy, we've got the Orange County Coast Keepers, and how many, just show of hands, how many people are growing seashells from the Orange County OC Coast Keepers? So that was a huge event, and that's one of the wins we'll take for the coalition is Keisha from the OC Coast Keeper came to Steve Parsons and the Yacht Club and said, can we host this shell string program here in Huntington Harbor? And Steve said, of course, that's great, that's exactly what we want to do. And then the coalition got on board and promoted it. Mel Williams produced a bunch of really nice flyers that I'm sure some of you saw, and we had a huge event. In fact, the Coast Keepers do this in Long Beach, and they do it in Newport Beach. And Keisha told me the Huntington Harbor turnout for the shell string program was the best of all three. So kudos to you. I mentioned the Surfrider Foundation from North ONC. They do a monthly cleanup I told you about. They go out on kayaks from the Huntington Harbor boat rental agency. We have Amigos de Bolsa Chica. Of course, the Huntington Harbour Yacht Club is the hub of all of this. The Bolsa Chica Land Trust. We have the Friends of Seal Beach National Wildlife Refuge, and that's a good one too. If you guys ever wanted to get on board the base at Seal Beach and just go to the Wildlife Refuge, you can do that. Contact the Friends of Seal Beach Wildlife Refuge, and they do guided tours once a month. I think it's the last Saturday of the month, don't quote me on that. But if you go to their website, they can tell you when those tours are, and you can go on to the weapons station there at Seal Beach and tour the wetlands. It's really fascinating what they have out there. And then we have governmental agencies, a part of the coalition, right? So we have Assemblywoman Dixon's office is part of the coalition. She's huge on clean waters. Obviously, she's from Newport Beach, and her district is all along the Orange County coast. So she's very big on trying to figure out solutions to keep debris coming into the harbors and ultimately into the ocean. Of course, the County of California is huge. We partner very well with the Public Works Department for the County of Orange and Janet Wynn's district. And of course, the city is involved heavily because of the harbor, right? So we'd already talked about the Clean Earth Rover program and the data program they have. They have a couple other things going on to help improve the water. We have the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. I know they're here today. They participate in our meetings. And of course, the Navy itself, my favorite. The Naval Weapons Station is a big supporter of the Coalition for Clean Water. So now I talked a lot about what we've been doing. So I want to give you a little bit about what can you do, right? So one thing you can do is you can come to our meetings on the fourth Thursday of the month in room B8 at 5 p.m. The other thing you can do is, and I know it sounds cliche, but if you see something, say something, and do something, right? So if you see something in the water that's fishy, and I don't mean fish, then tell somebody about it. And one of the best ways you can do it, right, is with the MyHB app. So if you haven't gotten this MyHB app yet, it's really convenient. You click on it. There's a button on there called Report an Issue, and you can go menu through. It's a water quality issue. It's a dead carcass in the water that needs to be removed. Whatever the case may be, You just put it in the app, and the monitors of the app will direct it to the right agency or the right department to go out and address it. So the other thing you can do is you can volunteer. So I mentioned the North Orange County Surf Rider. They do a monthly cleanup of the first Sunday of each month out in kayaks. Bolsa Chica Conservancy has a lot of cleanup events that you can participate in with, as do the Friends of Seal Beach National Wildlife Refuge. So look for those things and use the HB app. And then on the next slide, for those of you who don't want to download another app, here are some phone numbers you can use as well. And I'll put this up after the presentation, so you can copy them down if you don't get them. But if you want to contact the OC Sheriff Harbor Patrol and it's not an emergency, obviously in case of an emergency, like an oil spill or a fire or something along those lines, call 911 and the dispatcher will get the emergency response as fast as possible. But if it's not an emergency, call the OC Sheriffs, right? So for example, just before Hurricane Hillary hit, there was a big oil slick I noticed off of my backyard, off of my dock. And so it wasn't an emergency. It wasn't like a lot of oil coming in, but it was concerning. So I contacted the sheriff. He came out on his normal patrol, took a look around, and found the ship or the boat that was leaking from their bilge pumps. And so as a result, they put in the right remediation around it, and the oil slick cleaned up the next day once the sun came out. So Harbor Patrol is a great resource for us. If you have a non-emergency request for the PD, that's another resource for you as well. Here's something interesting too. If there's a crime going on in the water, excuse me, the responsible agency is the OC Sheriffs. So you can call the OC Sheriffs and they'll come out if it's on the water. If it's on the dock or on the land, then it's the police department. But no matter who you call, they're going to come and respond. Even if it's someone breaking into your boat on your dock, if you call the sheriffs, they'll come out and they'll also contact the police, and so you'll have two for the price of one. So I just offer that out there as well. If you find a code enforcement problem, you can call HB Code Enforcement. That's the numbers there. And if you find somebody polluting the water, right, or you see pollution in the water, the county has a 24-hour water pollution hotline. So you can call that number as well. It's 877-89-SPILL. That's 877-897-7455. Or you can go onto their website to request services, and they'll respond as well. If you see a sick animal, so you all remember the sea lion who was up on was it Davenport Beach or whatnot a couple weeks ago. If you see a sick animal, you can call the Pacific Marine Mammal Center, or you can call the Wetlands and Wildlife Care Center, and they'll send someone to respond to that as well. Okay, so I don't know how long I've been talking, but Peter said I only had 20 minutes. So has it been over 20 minutes? I forgot to hit time. So if it has been over 20 minutes, I apologize. And then I was going to tell a sea story, but we can save that for later if you like, or I can share. You want to hear the sea story? See, my buddies want to hear the sea story. You guys probably just want to go get some more burgers and beers. But so I'll tell you a sea story. So Peter said I was a pilot in the Navy. That's true. I flew the plane on the right. So when most people think about Navy pilots, they think about the planes on. Yeah, that's right. That's a P3 Sub Hunter. Thank you, sir, for recognizing. Thank you, sir. Yeah, so I flew a P3 Sub Hunter. Most people think of Top Gun and the pointy end, planes on the left. So like the gentleman mentioned, the P3 hunted submarines. So back in the day, we used to hunt Soviet submarines. I used to fly out of Adak, Alaska. Great fishing, by the way, but not so much when you're hunting submarines. We used to fly out of Adak, Alaska, right off the coast of the Soviet Union at the time. That's how old I am. It was the Soviet Union when I first started flying. And we would pounce on the Soviet submarines when they pulled out of Petropavlovsk. The other thing we can do, though, is we do surface warfare. So we carry harpoons, and if the war were to go up, we would use the harpoons to shoot down or to sink the enemy ships, right? And so for us, for the U.S. Navy to practice, obviously we don't shoot harpoons at them, but we still pretend like we're the bad guy, And so in that plane on the right, we would go out during an exercise the fleet does just before they go on deployment. It's called COM2X. And this is the exercise to make sure that they know how to defend their battle group and how to project power. And so I was playing what was called an IL-3 May, which is a Soviet version of the P-3. And we were coming in to attack the carrier battle group with harpoons, simulated harpoons. And the carrier battle group, their job was to intercept us and shoot us down before we ever got close enough to launch our missiles. And for the most part, they were good at that. We'd always get shot down, and we'd always go back and come back again, re-enlivened and whatnot, and do it again. Well, these two yahoos in the F-18, they thought it would be cool if they came out and intercepted me, but instead of shooting me down like they should, they were gonna do some hot rodding, and they came in like Mach 1 underneath my left wing, and then started to peel off to come around for a gun run. And so they're going really fast, right? They go really fast. And so in the P-3, I said, well, let's just slow down, lower our flaps, and turn inside of them. And so that's what we did. We just kind of lowered our power, dropped our flaps, and turned inside of them. And we could see these F-18 pilots. They're just yanking back on the stick, and you could see the G forces being pulled. And I don't know if you know this or not, but back in the day, the F-18s didn't have a lot of legs. So they were good for one intercept, and then they ran out of gas, and then they had to go home. And so that's what happened to these yahoos. They tried to pull this fancy maneuver on us, failed, because we turned inside of them. And so they bugged out and had to go back to the tanker to get some more gas. And so we were able to get our missile off, our simulated missile off on the carrier. And yeah, I wouldn't want to be them in the wardroom after that to find out that they lost a 1v2 with a P-3. So that's my sea story. I'm sticking to it. Let's open it up for any questions, comments, whatever you have. Anything at all? All right. Oh, you want one more question? Yeah.
That yellow thing, the rover.
Yeah. The data pod. This,
So we should have hit that with our boat, right?
you hit it with your boat?
I'm saying we shouldn't.
You shouldn't hit that. Yeah. I'd imagine it's pretty. If you've seen it, it's pretty rugged. But yeah. So it's solar powered, right? And it's got Wi-Fi, and so it'll send the signal, the data.
Where is it?
What's that?
Where is it?
So if you go outside to the dock, if you look over to the marine safety dock, it should be tied off right by the marine safety dock. There's two of them in the harbor. There was another one over on French Dock, you know where French Park is on Trinidad Island, but it was being vandalized. Can you believe it? People were spray painting it and whatnot. So we removed it from there, and the location now is a secret. So there is another one. It's over by Trinidad Island, but we're not saying where it is. All right. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yeah, that's bad. So the balloon that comes periodically is usually after the rainy season, and what that is the and again, I'm not an expert. This is just what's been told to me. It's the runoff of fertilizers and chemicals and whatnot from the upland cities, right? So all of that runoff into the flood control channel, that all comes down into the harbor, and when the sun heats up, that creates the environment for those algae blooms to grow. And they're thinking that is probably one of the causes for that dolomite, is that what you call it? What's the word? Domoic acid. So that's what happened to that sea lion over on Davenport Beach. It had domoic acid poisoning, as with those whales that washed up on the beach a couple of weeks ago as well, domoic acid. So they think it's caused by that algae bloom, and possibly from some of the runoff from the fires up in the Pacific Palisades. So thank you for that question. Anything else? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. If this was useful, maybe we could do it again next year. Maybe talk about infrastructure or something else, whatever's on your mind. So just let us know, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you all very much.